and welcome to Clear Out. I'm your host, Nihal, joined by my brother Sahil. We are 1 week into the 2023 NBA playoffs. It's been a fun 8 days. We're recording on Sunday, April 23rd, so a fun 8 days of playoffs. Sahil, how you doing?
I'm doing well. It's been a lot of fun to watch these series, and I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's start off in California, where the Golden State Warriors just tied it up 2-2. After being down 0-2 against the Sacramento Kings with a 126-125 victory at home. One of the big headlines from the series was Sabonis being suspended, or not Sabonis, Draymond Green being suspended for one game after stomping on Sabonis while his leg was being grabbed, to be fair. But that was a pretty wild and crazy game in and of itself. Sacramento not shooting well until game 4, but they did have losing game 4. It's been a pretty fun back and forth series. You know, and if you guys didn't miss our playoff preview, we did draft series, and I drafted this series first overall, which honestly I'm feeling pretty good about picking the series first because it's been a phenomenal watch. Steph has showed out in these last 2 games. De'Aaron Fox has continued his regular season success into the playoffs. He's been absolutely phenomenal, scoring 38 points again today. But it's been a really interesting series tactically as well. I think in these last 2 games, a bit of Sacramento's youth has shown in their inability to execute down the stretch in big spots. Keegan Murray finally had a great game today for Sacramento. And I did mention, Keegan Murray and Kevin Huerter, they were really streaky shooters this year. Like, they would have months when they were in the 20s in terms of percentages, and other months where they were very high. Kevin Huerter hasn't really showed up in this series as well. But, yeah, I mean, even if you look at today's game, the Kings had 12 more shots than the Warriors. And we talked about going into this series, being able to get offensive rebounds for the Kings. They out-rebounded Golden State 12-8 on offense. But yeah, I mean, it's been a really great series. I think the most surprising thing to me is how, it's hard to, well, 2 things I think have been really surprising for me. One is Sacramento's ability to weather Golden State storms, and they might not end up winning the game. Like today, the Golden State went on a huge tear at the end of the 3rd quarter, and Sacramento responded at the beginning of the 4th quarter. I think in the last decade, we've seen teams just fold against the Warriors when they go on those runs. That's been really, really impressive to me. Sacramento's ability to stay in these games, to win 2 games. But I think the other thing is Sacramento's defense I've been pretty impressed with. I think they've been really active on that end. De'Aaron Fox has looked really good. Sabonis is just not a rim protector, so I think Golden State's been able to get a lot of easy baskets around the rim. When someone rotates and then Sabonis has to try to help, and then it doesn't work for them. So, but overall, I think I've been really impressed with their defense. Especially, you mentioned, I think, Davion Mitchell in the preview. He's been pretty phenomenal as well. And Malik Monk's a star. He's been great this series too. So, what do you think of this series so far? It's been pretty fun.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been mad at anyone who had Malik Monk on their 6th Man of the Year ballot, and he's showing out in the playoffs too. I definitely agree with that. It's been crazy. So, in this game that we just watched, crazy 1-point game. Steph Curry had a couple huge mistakes in the final minute, calling a timeout when they had none, resulting in a technical foul and a change of possession, and then taking a shot when he didn't need to, when there was like a 3-second difference in the game and shot clock with 10 seconds left, giving the Kings 11 seconds to work with to get a shot. And Harrison Barnes missed a lot of shots in that final 2 minutes. A couple 3-pointers. One was like a step to the left 3-pointer. One was a catch and shoot one. One was a drive that he rushed. So Sacramento just rushing a few of those offensive possessions at the end. It was very frantic for both teams, really.
Yeah, no. So you touched on Golden State. Sacramento had the chance to tie or take the lead 3 different times in the 4th quarter and turn the ball over each time. So, I mean, the one that stands out to me is De'Aaron Fox throwing it out of bounds between Sabonis and Harrison Barnes. But I also Yeah, the Harrison Barnes drive you mentioned, Sabonis was wide open. They could have gotten it to him. I mean,
there was so much time on the shot clock. That was literally transition. Yeah.
Yeah. Then Malik Monk at the end just driving to the basket, and getting blocked. So it was, yeah. Like I said, like I said when I started talking about the series, is their youth I think showed in this game, and turnovers are going to be a huge story in this series no matter what. I mean, Golden State turns the ball over a lot, and when they're turning the ball over more than they need to, they end up losing, which is true of any team. But like they do turn the ball over. Sometimes I'm watching Jordan Poole and I'm like, what are you doing?
But today, I mean, they ended up with an 11.5% turnover percentage, which is good, not great, and Sacramento took care of the ball really well.
Yeah.
But if Golden State can kind of stay average around those marks, and they got to the line a lot today, which is huge when you look at it. They shot 92% on their free throws, 22 for 24. That's a big difference in a game like this. That's 1 point.
Yeah.
And they kept, like I said, they kept the turnovers down. We didn't see a lot of the head scratchers today that we see often, except a few maybe. Like you said, one with Jordan Poole, I remember vividly. But one of the big stories for Sacramento is Kevin Huerter. Is just if he played like he did in the regular season, they might have 3 or 4 wins in this series so far.
No, like I said a few minutes ago, like he's been a streaky shooter all year, and I talked about it in the preview, and like that has been a huge problem for them. I completely agree. Like if he's shooting at his average, I think. I mean, it's 2-2. It's hard. I mean, we're negative on the Kings right now. If we had recorded after the first 2 games, I mean, it would be a different conversation. But it's 2-2. Golden State is a phenomenal home team. They're terrible on the road. Something else I mentioned in the preview too. Like, I think until the Warriors prove that they can win on the road, I don't know why we should give them I picked the Warriors, but I'm just saying, like, why should we give them the benefit of the doubt on the road? I mean, like,
well, because they're defending champions.
Sure.
Such, but
I mean, I think like there's 3 games left. 2 games are in Sacramento. In order for Golden State to win, they have to win one on the road.
Yeah, and this is what you worked all year for if you're Sacramento. You want to be in this position where you got 2 out of those last 3 at home. De'Aaron Fox, just amazing change of pace, so composed in the half court, 4 out of 11 from 3. Every time he makes you pay if you go under the screen or leave him when he's off ball. Like, he's just been so good. Taking 31 shots when his team really needed him to today. I mean, Sabonis and Keegan Murray were efficient. Maybe they could have gotten a couple more looks. But the big reason Kevin Huerter's a big deal is that they're essentially having to close with Malik Monk and Davion Mitchell or both. And Kevin Huerter at least is going to bring you more size to guard players like Andrew Wiggins on the other end.
Well, he's been guarding Clay a lot this series, Kevin Huerter. He's so because he's still starting.
And I think he can do a decent job kind of running around with him off screen.
No, he's done a good job.
And Davion Mitchell does a great job of keeping up with the staff. If anything, I think Golden State could have done a little bit more Steph Draymond pick and roll today. I mean, we definitely saw, that they didn't run as much pick and roll in game 3 because Steph didn't have his pick and roll partner in Draymond Green. But today, Draymond was excellent passing the ball, I thought. There was a key shot at the end where he found Wiggins for a nice floater shot. And Kevon Looney, again, racking up 6 assists. He was excellent in game 3 and so important to the rebounding game where, again, they didn't win, but they did well enough to get enough rebounds to
Looney 40, 20, and 9 in game 3. Oh, it's not 40. 4, 20, and 9. Yeah. 4 points. 20 rebounds.
You mean well?
No. 4 points. 4 points. 20 rebounds, 9 assists. He's been great. Interestingly, so Draymond Green did not start today. And Dora said on the broadcast, like, that might be because they do want 4 shooters around Kevon Looney against this team, at least to start the game.
Yeah, and they played some lineups in this game where they had both of them on the court, but it makes sense. And Kevon Looney's becoming that valuable.
Sure.
Where you can definitely
They're still closing with Draymond, and Draymond affected, I mean, he and Steph doubling De'Aaron Fox on the last look that the Sacramento got. And then, I mean, his defense is just that important. He's such an elite defender.
Yeah, I mean, they close with both in this game.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, that's...
Sorry, that's what I meant to say.
No, I wasn't... I thought you could have meant either way. Yeah, so, Dante, wasn't playing all that well today. Defensively got a little bit lost a couple times. You don't need to play him. Gary Payton... Now, so, Wiggins... I like the Wiggins matchup on Fox, sort of. Like, I think he does a decent job, but there's just some speed that you're losing there. Like, it's just going to be impossible to keep up with him. Do you think Gary Payton, only get 7 minutes in this game because of offense, or do you think they really just they believe in Wiggins more defensively against De'Aaron Fox? Or both. I guess it could be both.
I mean, I think it's a bit of both. I think Wiggins is a good enough defender to where you can do that, and the upside on offense is worth it. So I mean, you could. Who are you taking out? Are you taking out? You're taking out Wiggins, or are you taking out Draymond?
No, I mean you could take out one of the bigs. I guess in that scenario, you could take out.
Yeah, I mean, I just think they need some of that rebounding.
They're so valuable, yeah.
They need that rebounding, and Draymond is just that good of a defender. So it's at that point, it's almost like you're picking. I mean, I think you could get more minutes for sure. I think Peyton could get more minutes. I'm gonna look at the what were his minutes in the previous games, because I feel like he was playing more than 7 minutes before. In Game 3, he played. Gary Payton played. Oh, he didn't even play in Game 3. Am I looking at this right? Oh, maybe he's hurt then.
Yeah, I mean there could be. I mean, obviously we know he dealt.
I didn't hear anything about that
season, but yeah, well, Dante got more minutes in that in Game 3, right?
Yeah, I mean, Game 3 was kind of weird. Like, Dante got 27 minutes.
The Warriors had a sizable lead for a lot of the games,
yeah.
So that definitely changes up the rotations.
Moody had 16.
Oh, Moody was huge in Game 3.
Yeah, he was.
So that's another thing. So I feel like we're seeing Golden State's young players actually become playable in enough situations where there's, like, lineup flexibility for Steve Kerr.
Yeah.
The amazing thing about the title last year is that Golden State basically won with, like, 6 playable players. Right. Or 6 or 7. But, like, this year they've got a few more tools to work with. I mean, they lost Otto Porter Jr., but that's basically the only player that they lost that played meaningful minutes last year.
Gary Payton had 20 minutes in Game 1 and 27 in Game 2.
Yeah, so he guarded De'Aaron Fox a lot.
Yeah, he did.
But Wiggins is doing a good enough job, I think. Making him work, Fox. You're not going to limit him completely. But, Clay had a rough series. He finally went 4 for 9 from 3 today. Huge buckets off pin downs. And I mean, he's providing enough defensive cover as well. He was plus 22. Yeah, I believe a game high plus 22 in this game.
Gary Payton is ill, apparently.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
He before the game, Steve Kerr said he was unsure about his workload today. So, yeah, makes sense. He's just not at full strength. So I don't think he will close though. When
I don't think he'll close, but he only played 7 minutes. So I didn't know that. So I'm just wondering if they're going to need maybe a couple more minutes, cool off Wiggins so he can be a little bit better offensively.
They definitely will.
That could be a big.
If he's fully healthy, they definitely will. I think. So I mean, being able to I don't want to say shut down, because I feel like the Kings were getting good looks in Game 3. They just couldn't really hit him. But being able to limit the Kings' offense without Gary Payton and Draymond Green was really impressive in Game 3, for sure. So,
yeah.
It's a great series.
Yeah, it's a great series. I think the Warriors did a great job today. Also, Steph, for the mental errors that I said at the beginning of this segment, he also did have played good defense to make De'Aaron Fox give up the ball, and then Draymond helped on De'Aaron Fox a little bit.
Did you mention the floater with
Curry closed down on Harrison Barnes, causing him to miss that last 3. I did not mention the floater. Wait, the Wiggins floater I mentioned, right?
No, I'm talking about Steph's. He took like a floater.
Yeah, I did. Oh yeah, I mentioned that.
Yeah,
he should not have taken that shot because it was a 3-second difference.
I could not believe that. Yeah.
No, that was crazy. But he had a great game. 32 points, 5 for 11. Yep. But 36. That timeout though was huge. The game's done if they don't lose possession and give up a technical free throw.
Right.
And Fox hits a 3 after that. So like, he just needed to hold on to the ball.
He did, yeah. 32 today, 36 in Game 3. I mean, he's just such a phenomenal watch. He hit some crazy shots today, like he always does. So, yeah, I mean, I'll be interested to see how. I mean, I don't think, like, the Kings, I don't think need to adjust too much, do you? I mean, defensively at least. I feel like they are losing. They're sometimes losing Steph or Clay, and, there's just mental mistakes that happened. But that happens. I don't think it has anything to do with Mike Brown's system.
The Warriors have been doing that to every team for years. But
so I don't.
Maybe Alex Len. He played 11 minutes, was plus 11. I thought he looked pretty good out there. Maybe they should play him a little bit more instead of going with like those smaller lineups with Harrison Barnes at the 5. I do think that Golden State has, to some extent, the last 2 games. Maybe it is the home and away thing, and everything's going to change in Game 5. But I think they've figured out when to cut, when to take advantage of Sabonis at the rim. Mm-hmm. When to get into Steph's pick and roll game, when to do the off-ball stuff, that I think the Warriors or the Kings are going to be forced to make shots. Like, I don't think they're going to be able to get away with shooting poorly and winning like they did in Games 1 and 2.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's interesting.
like Keegan Murray, it's awesome that he got 33 minutes today. He was barely playing in some of the earlier games.
Well, yeah, like he was hitting shots today.
For sure, and he's going to need to, I think.
Yeah.
If they want to win the series.
I mean, I don't think you can play Sabonis and Len though defensively.
No, I don't think so either. But instead of Harrison, I think they ran a couple lineups with Harrison Barnes and Trey Lyles at the 4/5.
Sure. I mean, how many minutes did Sabonis?
37.
Get?
So 11.
There's 11 not. So he played those.
So he literally did play all those minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Then that's a. And Sabonis, it's not like he was in foul trouble.
He was pretty good. He was pretty efficient today. His scoring is not. I mean, he only averaged 18 points a game this season.
It's tough to post up those guys. You're taller than them, but you can't really post up Sabonis or Draymond and Kevon Looney. And then Sabonis is so valuable in that dribble handoff game, but Kevin Huerter's missing shots. But Keegan Murray, they did a couple dribble handoffs with, and he made them in this game.
I mean, Monk's been able to use him as a screener. I mean, Fox still is able to use him as a screener in the mid-range game. It's still such a hard pick and roll to guard. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely the series, looking at the series that is most likely to go 7, in my opinion. Just because both teams are so good at home. The Warriors are terrible on the road. The Kings have actually been pretty good on the road this year. I mean, I don't really know how much that matters, but it's the fact that the Warriors were so bad on the road this season. Like, so bad. I think it's kind of concerning, so we'll see. I mean, we'll see if they can pull one out. Game 5 is going to be absolutely massive. I don't know if I see the Warriors winning Game 7 in Sacramento, if that's what it comes to. But,
yeah, I mean, it's tough with how... Although, I don't know, it's a young team with the Kings, so if we're talking about, like, just psychology and how much that stuff matters, like, maybe they'll freeze up, like, when they... this lighting the beam to beat the defending champions in a Game 7 at home. You can think about it like that. But Steph also played 43 minutes. Steve Kerr played him the entire fourth quarter, which I was so proud of.
I mean, he said it in the interview, in between quarters. So
because they were getting killed with Steph off the court this entire series.
Yeah. So I mean, the Warriors have made adjustments. We'll see what Mike Brown does with his rotation, but I mean, yeah. I mean, it really comes down to. I mean, it doesn't come down to it, but if Kevin Huerter can start hitting shots and being more, active on offense. I mean, I don't even know how many shots he took today. It didn't.
1 for 4. Yeah, 0 for 1 from 3.
Exactly.
Which I don't really get. If you're out there, Kevin Huerter, shoot. Like you're going to be able to. You can shoot semi-contested. I don't think you just.
Right. Well, that's what I was saying. That was my point. Like, yeah. I don't remember him shooting, which is why I couldn't even. I was trying to remember. Like, did he even score? But I mean, he made one shot, I guess. He was plus 14 though today.
Yeah, interesting that Mike Brown went away from him. Harrison Barnes minus 12. That one sticks out. I think
Davian's minus 15.
Another thing that I think is if Fox is making you pay with these off the dribble threes, I think the Wiggins matchup gets even more difficult, especially if you're not switching on that possession. Although they've been switching a lot, but if you're like with screen navigation, Gary Payton's one of the best in the league.
I agree, but I do think part of it is they are. I think with the rest of their matchups outside of Wiggins on Fox, they're also kind of limiting they're trying to limit the off-ball stuff that the Kings can do. They're already limiting Sabonis as the distributor.
Yeah, that's true.
So I mean, I think if you're gonna sacrifice something, maybe you just let Fox get his, and then you.
True.
I mean, it makes it much harder.
And muck up the paint more when this is the only game that they shot well. So make Keegan Murray make more threes in a playoff game.
Right.
Trey Lyles shoot more threes, and then maybe that's a better formula. More, yeah.
And maybe that's what they're trying to do. So I don't think it's necessarily worth sacrificing your offense to have Gary Payton out there. Although I do think you do need Gary Payton out there with Jordan Poole if Steph's not in the game.
Yeah, I feel like we haven't seen Gary Payton used as much of a screener this year, and maybe that's or this series, and maybe that's because he's a little sick or whatever, and it's easier to just stand in the corner. But that would be interesting to see because I think you get more value out of him than just kind of him being ignored in the corner because he can really rise up and be a dynamic threat going to the basket.
Sure, but I mean everyone else, every other guard and every other wing, when they blitz because the Kings are blitzing Curry and then someone's going over to the screener. Even if it's a good shooter, like even if it's Wiggins screening. I mean, you can blitz Curry even harder if it's Gary Payton's the screener.
True, you can just kind of ignore because Peyton. I mean,
Well, are you talking about on ball or off ball screens for Peyton?
On ball. I was talking about.
So I mean, then you can blitz Curry even harder. So
because you trust Draymond in a 4-on-3 situation more than Peyton.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, I think Peyton's still like good enough in that position, but no, Draymond
can make you pay.
Yeah, Draymond's gonna make you pay like most of the time almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is I mean, anything else you think that you could see, or if not, like who do you think's coming out? Who do you think's winning this series?
I mean, I think I don't know. I think Sacramento actually is gonna win. I don't see the Warriors winning on the road. Like I said, just prove it to me. Win Game 5, and then I think like Warriors in 6.
It's so close, really, for me. I'm gonna go Golden State. I'm just gonna go with the pick I made at the beginning. I think.
I mean, I don't feel super strongly either way. I think we haven't really seen Sacramento just shoot the lights out like they can. I think one of those games is probably coming. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm interested to see what adjustments, if any, the Kings make on defense going into Game 5. Like I said, I don't think they necessarily need to, but that's what I'm looking to.
I believe they did go for a... Oh, I can't remember now which team did a box and one against Fox.
They did do a box and one today.
Against Curry, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So they showed that a little bit, but they showed that a little bit throughout the series. I don't think they're... And to me, that's not an adjustment because they've already shown it. So that's what I kind of want to mean. Like, they're throwing different looks at him. So,
I mean, the bench is just not that good. It's interesting. Rashawn Holmes is healthy, right? He's just not playing.
I don't think he's on the team.
He's on the team.
Oh, he's on the team.
No, he thought he might have been like a trade candidate, but I don't think he ended up getting traded.
No, he hasn't played. Metu hasn't played at all, which we've...
Interesting, yeah. They need to get a little more depth next season, I think. But...
Sure, I mean, they're a young team.
But for sure, this is all house money, of course. Yeah, the Kings... Overall, the Kings have impressed me on both ends, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe like offensively, yeah, both. I mean, besides not hitting shots.
Well, I mean, I think part of the thing is Davion Mitchell has not been like terrible on offense. Like he's hitting shots,
going to the basket.
Going to the basket. So he's been good on offense, or he's been above expectations for Davion Mitchell on offense. So that's been a big deal for them as well. All right, let's move on to New York, where today as well, on Sunday, the New York Knicks took a 3-1 lead against the Cleveland Cavaliers, winning 102-93. The Knicks did win Game 1 on the road. Cleveland answered back, but in Madison Square Garden, New York won both of their home games and have taken a commanding lead in that series. Sahil, this was a game a series you drafted.
I did not.
I drafted it?
You drafted this series.
Wait, who did you draft first and second and third?
I drafted LA Memphis, and then I think I went...
No, this is...
Oh, no, I did draft. Did I draft this series?
You did draft the series. Because then I drafted... After that, I drafted...
Okay, wait. I thought I had Bucks, Heat, Timberwolves, Nuggets.
Oh, you drafted Denver, Minnesota, actually, before Knicks Cat.
Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah.
Terrible decision.
It wasn't a good pick, but it was it was a pick I made.
Terrible decision.
I don't know why. Maybe it's because of the Julius Randle injury, because I thought that would be a bigger deal.
I mean, it's 3-1, so it's not like it's 2-2, but it's been a fun series. I mean, Denver, Minnesota, there've been some close games.
So this is your series.
This is my series.
I have thoughts on this.
I mean, I have been watching it closely anyway. So for some reason, I thought, this was like the second overall pick. So
I believe it was either...
It was LA Memphis you chose second.
So you chose this fourth? Okay.
And then I chose Phoenix, LA. Man, I had a great draft.
Yeah, no, it was better than mine.
No, so again, what I talked about in the preview for this series was the Knicks are going to be able to how the Knicks are going to win is they're going to be able to out rebound the Cavs.
Can I have a stat for this one?
And the fifth guy on the Cavs, they just don't have one. Those were the two things I said, right? That's going to be the difference in this series if the Knicks win. Now, I picked Cavs because I think the Cavs... I mean, they have the two best players... Well, they have the best player in the series. But I think... Okay, share your stat, the rebounding stat.
Just New York rebounded 41% of their misses today.
I mean, that's insane. You
Yeah,
have Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley. And I think one of the biggest reasons they do that is oftentimes you'll see them boxing out without watching the ball. So they'll do like an old school box out, not accounting for who's around them. Like, you know, at the end of game 1, the Knicks got a huge offensive board where the Cavaliers were down a possession with less than 24 seconds left. Jarrett Allen boxed someone off the court, but there's 2 other guys there against Evan Mobley. I mean, if Jarrett Allen stays in position and just goes up and gets the ball, he gets the rebound.
Right.
In that situation.
And Mobley was ball watching, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, they're both. I'm not saying Jarrett Allen is more culpable than the other. I'm just saying, it's a combination of these two. They're not getting it done. I mean, you have 2 7-footers and you're getting out rebounded. It's ridiculous.
By a lot.
By a lot. It's not even close. And the Knicks are a phenomenal offensive rebounding team, but still, I mean, it's inexcusable how thoroughly the Cavs have been beaten on the board. So, and then the other thing, like I mentioned, the 5th guy in the Cavs, Okoro's been terrible. Dean Wade hasn't played. Chetty Osman's been terrible. Their bench is just awful. Like Ricky Rubio has been a non-factor. I mean, who else do they even have on the bench that I'm missing?
Yeah, well, Karis LeVert's been starting in place of Okoro, but he hasn't really been playing well.
Chetty closed in game 1 because Okoro was so bad. He was passing up shots. He was missing shots in the corner. Chetty hit some threes in the first game. So they rolled with him. They tried him in game 2. That didn't work. Karis started. So, I mean, I think today Karis was okay, right? I think he had a decent shooting day today. Today, really in New York, so the 5th guy has not been good, but I will say, so Karis LeVert was 4 for 10 from the field, 2 for 6 from 3 today. He had 14 points. In New York, it's been the stars. It's been, Garland was awful in game 3. Mitchell was terrible in game 4. He had 2 points in the second half. He was 5 for 18 from the field. Garland at one point in the last game, I don't have his full numbers in front of me, but he was like 1 for 8 from the field and like 0 for 7 from 3 at one point or something.
Yeah, I think he started 0 for 8 or 0 for 9, yeah.
I mean, it's just, so those guys also have not really been showing up in New York.
It's really just been an offensive, so far in the series, it's been an offensive failure by the Cavaliers. Mm-hmm. Like, it's been either Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland aren't hitting shots. When they show bodies towards them, Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley aren't doing enough on the short roll. Evan Mobley's shown flashes. He's shown some aggressive. When he looks good, but it's not consistent enough. And then, like you're saying, yeah, like, you could say play Chetty Osman over Okoro because the shooting. Chetty Osman's shooting 25% from 3 in this series. Like, so it's like more of a theory thing, and none of these 5th guys are really working. Karis LeVert, I mean, I agree with that decision to start him over Isaac Okoro, probably just because he's going to give you that punch, and Cleveland's really been struggling offensively in this series. But it's just not good enough. I mean, Donovan Mitchell, what was he today? 4 for 19, 4 for 18?
5 for 18.
5 for 18, and it's just not going to cut it. And he's not been making the right decisions a lot of the time, I don't think, especially when things are getting tough. And that's the problem he had in Utah sometimes. Like, when it gets tough, he sometimes just tries to go and gun more rather than making the simple pass, right? When he gets aggressive coverages on him.
Well, and today the front court guys were, actually scoring pretty efficiently when they took their shots. Evan Mobley was 5 for 8 from the field. Jarrett Allen was 7 for 11. In the first 3 games, they were doing nothing offensively, really. So, but today, I think Donovan, he just was trying to get into a rhythm, and he couldn't. So, I don't know, man. Honestly, it's a pretty shocking display by Cleveland for me. I did not expect them to just look so inept on offense. I really didn't expect it.
Yeah. Today put up a 104.5 offensive rating. Obviously, that would be by far the worst in the regular season. Turning it over a decent amount. Only got 23% of their own misses, which is like, okay, you have 2 centers basically standing near the paint. I mean, you got to win in that point. And this is, I don't know, it brings up, do you think, just going big picture for a second, do you think this is more about we need to see more development from these bigs, or they need to kind of change the way they construct this roster?
Well, they need a 5th. They really need a 5th.
You think they can still stick with the Twin Towers approach if they have like a versatile two-way way?
And I think Evan Mobley is going to develop he's going to continue to develop as a scorer. I think it can work if you have a 5th starter and a bench, and you can also rotate those guys in the front court. Danny Green's been playing a little bit in this series, which is insane. They're just looking for anything right now. off the bench. Interesting. I mean, also I think Tom Thibodeau's done a really good job coaching. Sticking with the guys who are scoring, making tough decisions. Today, the Knicks closed without Julius Randle. They closed with Obi Toppin, who's been better than Julius Randle. He's been playing Quentin Grimes more than Emmanuel Quickley at times. And Josh Hart.
Really reacting to the way players are playing on the court.
Yeah. And Tom Thibodeau was one of the coaches who got 0 votes in the Athletic poll for coaches you want to play for. I mean,
it makes sense based on the way you have to work, but I mean, part of that, you know what? Part of the thing that I think is really
he's a good coach. I just want to say
he's a great coach, and part of the thing is that one thing is that a coach maybe who you wouldn't want to play for is going to tell you to get back, and that Cleveland can get nothing going in transition in this series. Even when they get there, they're not scoring efficiently. Today they scored 88.9 points per play on transition. How is that even possible?
Yeah,
I mean, a small sample. They didn't get into transition much. Sorry, that was actually the Knicks statistics, which is, I don't know how the Knicks scrounge these points together if they can't do it.
That's been the story of the Knicks all season. How are they scoring? How is this working?
A lot of it today, and you mentioned offensive rebounds. Josh Hart, how many key rebounds did he have today?
Insane.
Ridiculous.
Great trade. I mean, just a phenomenal trade.
I loved it at the time, and I love it now. I mean, he's been so good today. I feel like Thibodeau's known exactly when to play Hartenstein when they need a bit more playmaking, when Mitchell Robinson when they need a little bit more rim protection.
Yeah, and Hartenstein's been good. In Game 1, he was huge scoring. I mean, he had a really nice scoring game in Game 1, so...
Yeah, I mean, Mark Jackson said it on the broadcast, and I don't always agree with Mark Jackson on everything, but he said Mitchell Robinson's been the best defensive center in this series, and it's hard to complain. It's hard to complain with that. I mean, he's just been so good. Jalen Brunson showed up in some key moments today, hit some key threes. I feel like, Evan Mobley, he's done actually a decent job, I think, guarding Julius Randle in big stretches. Part of that's probably Julius Randle's injury too, but they're just not getting enough from really anyone else.
Yeah, but who are you going to play? Are you going to put Robin Lopez in there?
No. You don't play anyone else. There's no one. There's no one to play. I mean, I don't know what happened to
I would like to see Robin Lopez.
I mean, maybe it would help with rebounding.
Yeah.
Yeah, boxing out. And
they got Sam Merrill. Just put Sam Merrill in the corner. Have him shoot threes. Is it interesting? Lamar Stevens has not played at all.
Yeah, that is interesting. Cleveland shot 35% of their shots from the mid-range today, which is, that's a lot for the 71st percentile. It just seemed like Donovan Mitchell was kind of pressing at times, just, trying, they were just showing him kind of a drop coverage with Hartenstein, and he wasn't able to pay oftentimes. So really interesting stuff with that. I think, I don't know how you juice up this offense other than just play better. A lot of these players.
Yeah. RJ Barrett's had 2 straight good games after looking just awful in games 1 and 2. I attended game 1 of this series. I mean, I was watching RJ and was just like, how is he an NBA player right now? He just was not doing anything. And then that apparently rubbed off on Cleveland, and the rest of the team started playing.
And RJ Barrett bounced back a little bit.
RJ had 2 really nice games. He's 0 for 6 from 3 today. But
he closed today. He
hit
some big shots. Yeah.
He got to the line 13 times today. He's aggressive, and he can be a really good scorer. So, good for him. For
even McBride got some key minutes today for Thibodeau and played him. I thought pretty well.
Well, Quentin Grimes is out today.
Yes.
So, but yeah.
Yeah. It's been a really interesting series. New York, just well coached, play together. I think
they're deeper. They are a lot deeper. They have guys that can play.
Yeah.
So,
and maybe people overstate, 9 through 12 guys. They don't really matter in the playoffs, but 5 through 8, that does matter. Obviously,
yeah.
That's a big part of your rotation. It determines how much you can send help away from players.
Exactly. I mean, they're basically ignoring Isaac Okoro, which, I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah. So I feel like I saw so many just open corner threes today, and just nothing happened. I honestly would have closed with Okoro because Chetty wasn't really bringing anything offensively today either. But I don't know. It's tough for JB Bickerstaff to come up with the rotation there. I think they need to play through Darius Garland a lot on ball. I think he's the player that I just trust him as a natural playmaker more than Donovan Mitchell. It just seems like Donovan Mitchell, when his scoring goes, he goes.
Yeah.
That Darius Garland, I feel, is still impacting offense at a very high level, even when he's off.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I haven't been impressed with both of them, honestly, with their activity on defense. Like, I think
all season, yeah.
Yeah, all season. But I think they've been pretty decent on that end, which, you know, we thought will that come to pass in the playoffs? But no, I mean they've been pretty decent. So yeah, I mean it's interesting. I have a hard time. I do not think series is over, for the record, but I do have a hard time seeing how Cleveland are going to win 3 straight. I mean, I just think the Knicks, they're deep. Tom Thibodeau's making tough decisions coaching, and he's attacking, or he's, I guess, really just ignoring Cleveland's weak points and focusing on the players who can hurt him. So yeah.
Yeah, including and just to reiterate, including the front court players. I think, like you said, they had efficient scoring, but they're having some key turnovers, not always finding, you know. And Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland need to do a little bit better of a job moving off ball, relocating, making themselves available after Mobley and Allen get those 4-on-3s. But they just haven't been good enough when they get advantages when New York's playing aggressive schemes on those ball handlers.
Absolutely.
But I mean, perhaps I'm very impressed by the New York Knicks. They proved me wrong. This team is not this is not the team 2 years ago that got destroyed by the Atlanta Hawks. This is a very different team, and their best player is different. So we should have known that. Jalen Brunson is a legit borderline all-star type of, or I mean, all-star level player, borderline all-NBA type of player.
Yeah, and who knows? They might be hosting Miami for a chance of the Eastern Conference Finals.
Is that a transition?
Yeah, it is. Unlike the Knicks, I am not scoring 88 points per game in transition. Let's move on to a series that, I mean, I honestly did not think we'd be talking about. The Miami Heat are up 2-1 on the Milwaukee Bucks after beating Milwaukee at home 121-99. Miami shooting 50% from 3 across the entire playoffs, which is the highest by like 7%. So they've been pretty great. Yeah, the big story, of course, Giannis Antetokounmpo got injured early in Game 1, missed most of that game, and has missed Games 2 and 3. Tyler Hero broke his hand in Game 1, out for the series. Victor Oladipo, torn patella tendon, out for the series as well. He got injured. Yeah, so unfortunate for him. He got injured late in Game 3. Jimmy Butler hurt his back. He did not re-enter the game after that, even though he was cleared to play. So we'll see how that goes. But Miami is up 2-1. This was your series that you drafted. We're both Bucks fans, so obviously we're both watching it closely. But just it's bleak right now in Milwaukee. If I mean, I think Giannis has got to play on Monday for Milwaukee. I mean, he's just got to play.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it wasn't. I mean, even when Milwaukee was shooting the ball well in the first half in Game 3 against the Heat, you know, they just weren't winning. I feel like this is the team that's taller. This is the team that's supposed to be longer, but they're not imposing their will on the glass. They didn't get to the free throw line. They had a bleak 7% free throw rate. They turned over the ball a ton, just passes here, there, everywhere. Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton could not handle double teams when they even played higher up on the level of the screen. Brook Lopez, you know, wasn't playing like a second voted defensive player of the year, and you know they weren't taking advantage of him offensively like they were in Game 2. And you know, and sometimes when they were looking for him, the core wasn't spaced properly, so they were just turning over the ball. Like I said before, just a bleak offensive performance, and it shows you how reliant this team is with Giannis on both ends. It's Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton. They're good to great offensive players, but they just don't bend the defense and make the defense make tough decisions like other players do. Partly because of their, you know, straight line speed and athleticism. You know, they'll make really tough shots. They'll score on you 1-on-1, but they're not, you know, the defense is not setting off a 5-alarm fire because of them, right? Mm-hmm. And I think with Giannis, that opens everything up. It makes those pick and roll partnerships more devastating. Even in isolation, he's going to cause teams to wall up, and you're going to get open shots for those players included. But yeah, just terrible a terrible performance from Brook Lopez on both ends as well. I'm going a little bit harder than I do on normal teams because I'm a Bucks fan. But
I mean, Brook Lopez 3 for 9 from the field, only one block. So in game 1 they had Max Strus on Brook Lopez. They did not take advantage of that matchup at all. Yep. Game 2, the Heat come out with the same thing. Brook goes off, and the Bucks win. They outscore the Heat in the paint. They tie a playoff record for 3 points made. Game 3, they put Bam on Brook, and he's just completely nullified. The Bucks did not know how to respond. So, I mean, it's like you say, they need Giannis back because he makes everything else go, and they just can't risk going down 3-1. If they go down 3-1, I do think if Giannis comes back, they could still win the series 4-3. But he needs to come back, and the Bucks, they need to win game 4. Otherwise, they could be in trouble.
Yeah, definitely.
And I've been seeing all over Bucks Twitter, Bud needs to go, he's not making adjustments. I don't really agree with that.
That's not true.
I feel like they're trying so many different things on defense. It's just, I don't even, and I hate using the intensity's not there for players because this is the playoffs, they want to win. But it just kind of seems like that. When Miami's attacking the rim, it just feels like there's nothing, like you said, there's no resistance there. And that's just really surprising for a team that was top 5 in defense this year. Obviously with Giannis. But
a lot of games even without Giannis too, and they still held up really well defensively.
Against a Miami team that wasn't great offensively, especially without Tyler Hero. I just don't really get it. Game 3 was a little bit wild because Miami was making everything. They were making, except for Bam, they were making mid-rangers.
Game one, they did make a lot more points than expected too. But yeah, Bam.
I said, they're shooting 50% from 3. Miami is.
Yeah. And that's compare that to the Cleveland and New York series where both teams are probably shooting sub 30 from 3 for the series or right. Close to it. No, but Jimmy Butler, I think he's just been amazing on both ends in this series. He's making tough shots. He kills you when you go under the screen because he'll randomly make a 3. When you go over the screen, good night. He's just faster than you. He's taller than Drew Holiday, as good a defender as Drew Holiday is. Maybe Bud considers just not playing Drew Holiday on Jimmy anymore just because Jimmy makes tough shots regardless. He's going to be able to shoot over him. Maybe.
Who do you put on him? See, this is the problem. If Giannis is not on the floor, right?
Yeah.
You're starting Bobby Portis. You have Grayson Allen, Bobby Portis, and Chris Middleton on the floor.
And Chris Middleton's been a traffic cone in this series for defensively.
So who do you?
They need Giannis. They need Giannis to guard Jimmy Butler like they did it 2 years ago.
Or they need something on offense from Jay Crowder if they're gonna throw him out there. The good news, I think if you're looking positively at Milwaukee, Chris has started to hit some threes. He's looked good on offense.
Pat Connaughton.
Exactly. Pat Connaughton has looked good this series. So. Other than that, though, I don't know. It's bleak.
And this is, and I don't want to get too narrative based or anything like this, but I guess it becomes more clear to me. I think Brook Lopez had a better defensive season than Jaren Jackson. But if people do project playoff defense a little bit or use that kind of thing, we're seeing the impact that Jaren Jackson is making every single game. He's just a better playoff defender by, I think, and not even close than Brook Lopez.
Rudy Gobert was an all-time rim protector and better than Brook Lopez was this season as a rim protector. But that did not stop him from his playoff defense. And
but part of that's Jaren wasn't a bad candidate this year.
No, he was a good.
He was per minute just a better defender than Brook Lopez this year.
Sure.
But part of the reason he wasn't playing as many minutes was because he was in foul trouble because he was fouling. So like I said, I think Brook Lopez should have won, but it just shows that. You need different looks. You need a Giannis at the 5 look, and they have with Jay Crowder. You're supposedly had the personnel to go to that more, but Giannis obviously has not been available, except for 11 minutes in this series. And it's just even Joe Ingles just turning over the ball, not looking like a good playmaker. Bobby Portis cannot defend without fouling. The supporting cast does not look good. Look as good without your 2-time MVP and Finals MVP as should be expected. But this
is why Giannis is MVP of the league.
You did want you did. I might have said that I thought Jokic should have been MVP, and he's been pretty crazy. He's been pretty crazy. Basically putting up the same or better performances so far.
I think you have a 6th Man of the Year candidate. You have a DPOY. and it just all falls a candidate, and it just all falls apart when Giannis is not there. I mean,
and look again,
incredible.
part of this is credit to Miami for making shots. Duncan Robinson played last game, and I thought at times Brook Lopez was too low on the screen. He also just hit some tough shots that you're gonna have trouble guarding.
Gabe Vincent's hitting threes.
Yeah,
Jimmy Butler's hitting threes.
yeah.
Bam is hitting shots. Jimmy's hitting all of his mid-range shots. I mean, playoff Jimmy is here. The freaking Chicago Bulls, man, come pull one out for us in the play-in tournament. But
where is the offensive rebounding when Bobby Portis and Brook Lopez are on the court? I know Brook Lopez is not a great rebounder. It happened in
the fourth quarter. That was the first time I saw it.
I was gonna say this is 24.4% offensive rebound rate. Like that seems exaggerated.
They got a lot in the fourth quarter.
It seemed like, honestly, because they just went for it. I think that's just something that needs to be emphasized more by Bud or by the players or whatever else. How do you stop these turnovers? Is that
Giannis?
Yeah, I mean that's gonna help. You're not those ball handlers aren't gonna be under as much pressure.
I feel like we've been asking that question for 2 years. Like they're just turnover. Chris has not been able to dribble since this injury at the level he was before. So like. The Heat are doing a really good job if Chris is trying to get to the baseline, like to get his little turnaround shot that he really likes. Doubling late. So when Chris tries to turn, if he can't beat whoever's on him, Jimmy, they're just able to rip the ball from him. I mean, like that happened a couple of times.
And I mean, you think about different defenses that have operated like this. Even Miami, he struggled with at times a couple years ago, or actually the bubble three playoffs ago, and then also the Raptors series. That was probably his worst series as a Buck, but they had Nick Nurse doubled him a lot.
Yeah.
Basically every time he caught the ball in the high post,
but there's got to be movement off ball. Like there's got to be options. Like there's just nothing. There's nothing on offense.
No, and I mean that's, we know this about Bud. He doesn't. I mean he likes to rely on the creativity of the players on offense, but he's more regimented on defense. And
I think if Giannis is not there though, you can't. You gotta run some sets.
You gotta be more creative.
And I mean, they did that a little bit more for Grayson Allen in Game 4 or Game 3. But I don't know, man. I don't know. Milwaukee should win this series still. Like they really should. I mean, it would. If Milwaukee loses this series, it's a catastrophic failure, and I don't even know where they go from there. So,
yeah.
With or without Giannis, like it's a catastrophic failure to lose in the first round.
Especially if it's in 5 games or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, we saw this team beat the Hawks in the Eastern Conference Finals without Giannis.
For when it was tied.
They won 2 games without Giannis.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
So I mean.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I mean, I think adjustments wise, offensively you'd like to see more off ball movement. Maybe get Grayson Allen kind of constantly running more dribble handoffs. Try to get him going a little bit. Maybe even Drew Holiday get some off ball actions because he's been pretty dangerous from 3 even through his struggles. I mean, it starts to get a little bit bleak. I think when Bobby Portis and Brook Lopez are on the court, Max Strus is usually guarding one of those players, so there should be an advantage. You just need to make sure all of your players are spaced out properly. Defensively, it's hard to go to a switch everything lineup when you're playing Brook Lopez. And I was thinking about this, and maybe Brook Lopez is more afraid to foul because Giannis isn't out there. And I think maybe you just need to play a bit more physically. I know it's a Bud principle to not foul defensively, but he's got to maybe risk it because you can't just have this many breakdowns. And the turnovers are key to leading transition possessions on the other end. You've got to force more turnovers, get out in transition. Drew, force some turnovers, get some more fouls if you need to. I mean, I think he might have had a little bit of foul trouble in the last game, but I just think he needs to make more splash plays defensively to get your team going out in the other way because it's been too hard to score in the half court against them.
Yeah, I mean, and Game 3, they made adjustments. Like they started helping more harder on when Drew was driving. Drew had 27 assists in the first 2 games.
Right. He
had 3 in Game 3. Every time he drove, every time he got a screen, someone was helping over and forcing a really tough pass. And that's why he had only 3 assists in Game 3 and 5 turnovers. There was a lot more drop coverage too from Miami in Game 3. We didn't see that as much in Game 4. But if they're playing the drop, Milwaukee's got to pop and adjust in that scenario, right? Like if they're gonna drop, punish them or try to punish them at least.
Yeah, a couple times they even went under the screen on Chris Middleton. And
yeah, they did. They just didn't punish
knocked him down.
I mean,
a couple times. Yeah,
Chris did, but the rest of the team. I mean, you gotta be able to punish them. And coming off the 3-point shooting display that we saw in Milwaukee, you know, I just think, you know, they just need to have a little bit more adjustments in game.
Also, I think you just got to touch the paint. Touch the paint, make him show bodies a little bit more so you can get better catch and shoot three. Like, there's been way too many possessions from Milwaukee where you just kind of pass around the perimeter.
I mean, maybe you don't need someone in a dunker spot every single time.
No, I think that, I agree with that. I think that should be a tool that they use sometimes, but they need to just go back to the 2018 a little bit. Just with the 5-out spacing, I think, just to vary it up. They need to have both.
2018 Bucks. Come on.
29. Hey, that's when Giannis won MVP and Bud won Coach of the Year.
Yeah, it's one of the best freelance sets in 2K for a reason.
Oh, true.
Yeah. I mean, there are adjustments Milwaukee can make. The biggest adjustment is whoever's working on Giannis's back. Like, just get him back into the game.
And do you agree that I think Giannis, if Jay Crowder can't play, then I think Giannis should guard Jimmy, just like they did 2 years ago. He's going to make him work over screens sometimes, but Giannis has the recovery speed and the length to guard him. He did it 2 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a problem with Drew on Jimmy if Giannis is there as a help defender. I mean, I think that just completely changes everything.
That's true. But who are you helping off of now when everyone's shooting like this?
Gabe Vincent. I mean, if Gabe Vincent shoots you out of the building in a 7-game series, you know what? I mean, then you clap your hands and say, good job, Gabe Vincent. He's still not a good shooter. Like, he's just not a great shooter. But he's shown up.
Yeah, he's shown up. I like the way Bam's looked offensively overall more. Yeah. Just seems like he's making more of the right decisions, making Brook pay a little bit. Brook's not in his head like he was 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago he just wasn't taking shots. This time he is.
Yeah, so. Like maybe he would take a couple shots in the first half and then just completely just stop. And then Jimmy was
he had
terrible
30 points
in 2 years ago.
2 years ago. He had 30 points through 3 quarters.
Yeah, he was crazy. He was crazy good in this game.
60% from the field.
And he's been so disruptive defensively, like you said, with being able to trap. Spoelstra's coached a good series as well, as we should expect.
These are Jimmy's numbers: 30 points per game, four boards, 6 assists, 2 steals, 60% from the field, 67% from 3.
Playoff Jimmy's a real thing.
67% from 3.
Playoff Jimmy's a real thing.
So, I mean, we'll see. He took a pretty hard fall, and then he hurt his leg. So, we'll see how he looks in Game 4, because it's only a 1-day rest this time. But, I mean, I would not be... I mean, if I'm the Bucks, I'm not counting on Jimmy, not playing well because he's hurt or something.
Yeah, so. No. We've seen him play through injury before. Sometimes it affects him, but, I mean, he's gonna... I mean, and there was a couple of defensive breakdowns that we didn't talk about, too, like that one where Kevin Love's driving on Brook Lopez and Chris Middleton was, helping off of Max Strus. Just not necessary.
No.
Especially with where Kevin Love's at in his career right now, but he's played a good series, to be fair to him. Kyle Lowry just hitting shots when he needed to, just being
he was really good.
Such an important 6-man scorer for them. Victor Oladipo is playing well too. That's very unfortunate for him that he got hurt, but
yeah,
they're getting contributions from all their players.
They are. I mean, now that they don't have Hero and Oladipo, Milwaukee really should win this series. I don't even know how else to say it, but
yeah, well, this Game 4 is so critical. If you lose this,
it's hard.
Statistics, it's just hard to do that. But if any team's gonna do it, it makes sense for it to be the best team in the NBA during the regular season, but at least by record. But yeah, let's move on from this series.
Yeah, let's move on to Los Angeles versus Memphis. The Lakers are up 2-1 after really kind of destroying Memphis in Game 3 in Los Angeles. Ja Morant did get injured in Game 1 of the series, missed Game 2, but did return for Game 3, had a big game, but was not enough. Lakers were up 35-9 at the end of the first quarter in this one. Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura have been really, really good. Rui Hachimura specifically has been awesome.
So impressive.
Yeah.
Did not expect to see him contributing at this level in the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, this is your series, so what are your thoughts on it?
So I think game 2, I think it might help to talk about game 2 a little bit first, because that was the game Ja was out, but Memphis ended up winning anyway. I think that Memphis did a really good job getting into their sets. A lot of nice off-ball stuff for Desmond Bane. Tyus Jones filled in very nicely, starting in place of Ja Morant. And they really just grinded out the game 2 win. Nothing jumped off the stat sheet except for like some marginal advantages in terms of ball control, rebounding, and shooting. Luke Kennard hit some big shots. Like Tillman was so good even on the short roll. Like when he got the ball, like oftentimes they sent aggressive coverages to Desmond Bane and Tyus Jones, but Tillman was still able to make them pay. Tillman also did a great job rebounding in that game. And Rui Hachimura did pretty well in that game too. He actually had a 20-point game even in their loss, but AD was shot really poorly from the field. LeBron was 1 for 8 from 3. He's got to stop taking as many threes as he is. I mean, this is not a big story because LeBron is like, he's hit a bunch of big jump shots in his past and he's a good career 3-point shooter, but like he's really wasting a lot of possessions. Like I would honestly rather have him screen for Austin Reeves or just quickly throw the ball to like get a switch or something for Anthony Davis to throw a ball in the post too. Just I don't know why he's taking this many threes. He's missed so many of them in this series. I get part of it's in fatigue and such. But really, like, so much of this series has been so fun watching Anthony Davis and Jaren Jackson on defense. And even Jaren Jackson on offense. He was pretty big in game 2 when they needed him in certain moments, and his face-up game has just gotten so much better. His post game's gotten better. He's got a bit of a pump and go game that he used to not have. But those two players they look like the best 2 defensive players on the planet right now. Like Anthony Davis has had 5 blocks in every game this series, which is ridiculous. So I enjoyed. I mean, that's a little bit on game 2, but it was just so cool to see some of the offensive chemistry in the non-Ja units. Like I remember specifically a play where they ran a couple of plays in a row where Desmond Bane had some nice handoff looks, and then Tyus did a handoff to Bane, but then faked it, like did a Draymond type keeper play and just got a free layup. So just really good. From the Lakers' perspective, I thought offensively they were just kind of sluggish, weren't really moving the ball around. AD and LeBron settling for jumpers. And then Memphis just making them pay on the other end when they did aggressive schemes on those ball handlers, with Xavier Tillman and Jaren Jackson doing enough. But in game 3, it was all different. It was all different because the Lakers got into their stuff super quick. LeBron and AD in their 2-man game looked as good as ever. The drop coverage was really bothering Memphis, and they gave space to Bane on a couple pull-up jumpers, but he wasn't really making a ton of shots. And Memphis was just super impatient in that first half. Doris Burke actually said the exact same thing, and I thought that was the perfect word to use. So Ja, you mentioned his huge game. He actually only had 24 points with 8 minutes left in the game. So his stat line looks like really inflated based on what he was doing over the course of the game.
Like I said, the game was 35-9 after the first. It was
and
pretty
they
much
did cut it to like 12. 9 or 12 at the end, yeah. So, Memphis just wasn't penetrating the paint much in the first quarter except in transition, and that really led to their struggles. And I think Taylor Jenkins didn't do well in this game because when they were down around 20 in the first half, he just put in his heavy bench lineup anyway, which is what he always does, the kind of regimented substitution philosophy, but that kind of made the game spin out of control after that.
Yeah, I mean, he is a Bud disciple, so hopefully he can... I mean, you would think he would have learned from his time in Milwaukee to, play your guys in the playoffs. Like, it's important to do that. I think he also just got to rein Dillon Brooks in on offense. I mean, 3 for 13 in the last game, 1 for 5 for 3. Is there a worse offensive player in the league that gets the amount of freedom that Dillon Brooks does on offense?
That's a good question. Probably not. He had some terrible shots early in the shot clock in the first quarter that led to the Lakers building their initial lead. And he threw away some transition possessions where they would have been better off with Ja just heading to the basket, or Desmond Bane, who's pretty good in transition too. Yeah.
I mean, every time he had the ball, the fans were booing him like crazy after the comments he made in the middle of the week. And there's a video of them cheering for his misses in the warm-ups too, which is pretty funny. So, I mean, honestly, something that stood out to me in game 3 was the environment at crypto.com. Like, that was pretty... Madison Square Garden and crypto.com like they came to play this weekend. It's pretty some amazing environment so far in the NBA playoffs, but that has less to do with this series. I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, no, for sure. Madison Square Garden was amazing today.
Yeah.
Yeah, Memphis could not get it going offensively in this last game. 99 offensive rating. And they're just, the glass, it would be a big difference probably if they had Steven Adams, who's one of the best offensive rebounders on the planet or of all time. But that wasn't working. A lot of sloppy turnovers. And, Memphis was getting up a lot of threes, but weren't very accurate on them. But, they weren't too bad. They were 33%. So actually the Lakers only shot 27% from three in this game, but they only took 27% of their shots from three. So they were just kind of, asserting their dominance, both in the mid-range with shots from Hachimura and LeBron, and also inside. Just super smart cuts. Austin Reeves, I did not expect Austin Reeves, even when he's not getting the same level of free throw treatment that he was in some of the regular season games. He's still just been so good offensively. And
he does draw a lot of contact.
He does draw a lot of contact. And he has a really good handle, which puts defenders in bad spots.
In game one, that drive into the baseline behind the back pass to Rui Hachimura for that big fourth quarter three, that was a phenomenal play. I don't know if you remember that.
No, yeah, I do, yeah.
Interestingly, D'Angelo Russell's been pretty terrible in this series, but it hasn't really hurt LA.
He's been not good at all. Yeah, I would...
it did hurt them in game two, to be
fair.
I
think it's hurt them defensively. He's looked lost a couple times. I think sometimes they have to scram switch him out of actions and stuff like that, but, they have the bodies to make up for that. Now, I've been really impressed. I know John Morant, like we said, dropped 45, but a lot of that... Was it 45? Was that what he ended up with?
I think something like that.
Yeah, something crazy like that, above 40 points. And
45.
But a lot of that...
And 13 assists.
Was in the fourth quarter, yeah. And I think overall Ja played well, especially coming off that injury. He looked good enough. But Vanderbilt has done a great job, I think, as that primary assignment. We both thought Austin Reeves might start on Ja Morant, but Vanderbilt's done a great job, even with his bigger size, just getting around screens, sticking with Ja Morant. The rear view contests are really good from him. There was just an obliteration by the Lakers in this game for much of the game.
Yeah, I think for me, I would like to see Desmond Bane be a little bit more aggressive. He got 14 shots up. He was 3 for 7 from 3 in game 3. I feel like sometimes he's too passive when he has decent looks, like to try to get someone else like a great look. But he's the best shooter on the team, so I don't know if you've noticed that at all. But there's one time that just sticks out to me from I think it was in the last game, where he passed up an open 3 to get it to Dylan Brooks.
That doesn't really make much sense. Yeah. No, I think they have a little bit of trouble sometimes merging Ja's pick and roll game with Bane's like off ball game. I think like Bane. Yeah, they've had that clicking before, obviously, and they're gonna need that. They're gonna need either Bane, to start with Ja, get some more attention, cause the defense to rotate, then swing it to Bane, and maybe he can attack the basket and then get an open 3 for someone like Luke Kennard, who was huge in game 2, but like I said, they have to they also have to like switch Luke Kennard out of matchups because they don't trust him on LeBron, which makes sense. Dylan Brooks has obviously gotten the primary LeBron matchup, but this is interesting because LeBron, by the way, he's had like a bunch of chase down blocks and like recovery blocks in this series where it looks amazing. Not that consistent defensive presence, but I wonder if LeBron can play a little bit more aggressively and better than he's playing in this series. Because if he can't, I do think there's a bit of a ceiling on what the Lakers can do.
I do think he's still ramping up a little bit. I think he can play better. He played 36 minutes. On offense, he was 10 for 20. 25 points. So, but I do agree. I do think he does. I think I mentioned it before. He just doesn't look the same. Even as he did earlier this season.
He's just not a physical force going to the basket.
He's 38.
Exactly, but he's still controlling the game beautifully, right. Finding cutters beautifully, and that's what I love, and I get so jealous just seeing a team like this, and then a team like the Warriors. They just get open dunks through smart cuts.
Yeah,
knowing where the defense is in rotation, than just someone cutting to the basket rather than just standing around. I get jealous because the Bucks sometimes just don't seem to create like easy baskets for themselves like that.
Right.
Specifically, Darvin Ham went to a double stagger screen in the first quarter multiple times, and Memphis could just not defend it. I love seeing him call up that play multiple times and daring Memphis to beat it.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, Darvin Ham, credit to him. I feel like he's gotten a lot of criticism this year. This team that the front office built in the second half of the season, I mean, it's really working, and you're seeing the fruits of that. Like, you're seeing that bear fruit. So, it's been a fun watch. It's been fun watching the Lakers. Another team that I really wanted to pick going into Memphis, and I remember saying, like, do you trust Rui Hachimura and Austin Reeves and Jared Vanderbilt and these guys to make shots? And they are. I mean, like I said, like if they do it, then they can win, and they have been. So,
and it feels like Ham's been, like Thibodeau, we were saying before, all these are somewhat flawed players, but it feels like they're coming in at the exact right moments to do their job.
And riding the guy who's hot in that game.
And riding different lineup combinations when sometimes you want to play Vanderbilt / LeBron at the 5, sometimes you're going to play, obviously, those players and Anthony Davis, or usually just LeBron and Anthony Davis. So different 5s out there. If you want more shooting without Anthony Davis, of course, like I just feel like Ham has done a really good job in this series. And, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I want to talk about it more just because, like, Anthony Davis, like, defensively, he's just been everywhere. Like, he looks so good.
I mean, he looks like a top 10 player in the NBA right now. I mean, I think on both ends. Game 2 was a little rough, but I mean, he just looks dominant. It looks like prime Anthony Davis, which is never a given, but it is really fun to watch.
For sure. No, I mean, like, on the offensive boards, he's been key to. He's able to, like, cover so much space in the pick and roll. He's run both drop coverage and switched a little bit, mostly drop though. I like how Ham likes to run it.
I mean, I just like whoever's playing, except for maybe D'Angelo Russell for the Lakers, is contributing in some way. Like, even when Troy Brown's getting minutes, he's contributing on the defensive end or on the glass, you know? So, I mean, it's just a fun team.
And Schroeder and LeBron have a great pick and roll chemistry.
They do, yeah.
His shooting can be volatile, but, like, LeBron screens for him a lot, and they get really good looks.
Schroeder's the one guy we always forget to talk about when we're talking about the Lakers. And he's a really, really good backup point guard. I mean, he might even be better than D'Angelo Russell for this team.
And interesting, Malik Beasley not getting a lot of minutes in this series. Like I said, I like him as kind of a movement shooter. If they need a little bit more offense, then they can go that way. But with the way they clamped up Memphis in this game, a healthy Memphis team, except for Steven Adams and Brandon Clark, which, like, this is why I picked the Lakers. I thought those Anthony Davis and LeBron James, it's mostly been Anthony Davis and a little bit of Rui Hachimura, it's just impossible for them to guard to get enough minutes rebounding and guarding in the paint at that end. I mean, not impossible, but because Jaren Jackson's doing so much defensively, but they're just losing a little bit in that front court and just general depth players. Like, I mean, Aldama and Roddy, they're not bad, but like if their shot's not falling, they're not that good. Even Conchar, and then like we said, Taylor Jenkins likes to ride these players a lot, regardless of how well they're playing. So it's a big deal that Steven Adams is not there to dominate on the glass. Brandon Clark's not there to really give them that amazing small ball look, like you always talk about with Jaren Jackson and Brandon Clark. And Xavier Tillman's a great player. I think he's better than I certainly thought. He got 12 rebounds again in this game. Wasn't the scoring machine that he was in game 2. But, yeah, I think they're just going to need to merge Ja and the Ja Morant offense, and then the Bane, Tyus Jones, beautiful off court, you know, when Ja's off the court offense to try to get more points together so they can have a chance in this series. I mean, you know, it's still very much there for them. They're just going to need to win a game in LA because if they're down 3-1, I don't see them. I mean, they could because they have 2 games at home, but still, 3-1, it's a tough place to be. So,
yeah. We should say Dillon Brooks was ejected in Game 3 for hitting LeBron. Yeah. Flagrant 2, but he
doesn't look to be banned for the next game.
No further suspension.
Ja Morant also was taking advantage of the Lakers going under the screen. In that game, he shot 6 of 10 from 3. It's crazy. Just all these guards who are like, oh, this is like the glaring hole in their game. Nope, they're just gonna hit 40 to 60% in playoff games, like De'Aaron Fox too. How he's been shooting in these playoffs. And there was some Memphis shot missing too. When you have a 35-9 star, it's likely that like multiple things are going on at the same time. I would like to see them get Jaren in more advantageous spots. It just didn't feel like he was getting the ball much in important portions of the game, and he has the ability to take up all of Anthony Davis's attention for a second, so that he can't do much else defensively. So, yeah, I there were minutes in the third quarter where Dennis Schroeder was guarding Ja for large portions, and I think that really helped Memphis cut into the lead when Vanderbilt couldn't play. So you're going to need to force the Lakers to play more offensive guys if you want Ja to cook as well, because Vanderbilt is a tougher matchup for Ja for sure.
Absolutely.
And then the Lakers were just kind of great in transition too. I mean, like they were able to get out a lot. I mean, even when LeBron is like not looking like his like dynamic transition self, he's still able to like make the right decision. He's still able to take up attention while he's, getting up to the 3-point line and make the exact right pass to a cutter or to a 3-point shooter. Credit to Memphis for fighting the entire game, because they could have thrown in the towel, but they fought the entire game. It's going to be a close game 4, I think. I don't think it's going to be a runaway or anything like that. But, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Maybe they look to, play a little bit more of Jaren Jackson at the 5 a little bit if they can get away with that. Jaren Jackson only had 32 minutes in this game, and he only had 4 fouls. So I don't really know. I think Taylor Jenkins...
He was not playing well offensively, to be fair.
He wasn't, but I mean...
who else do you have?
I mean, the value he was providing on defense, though, is obviously going to make up for that.
Right.
And, yeah, maybe they need to play him at the 5 a little bit more to open up the spacing a little bit, make Anthony Davis make more tough decisions.
Mm-hmm.
But who do you play then? Like, who's your 4, really? That's where it gets tough. Like, who's your...
I mean, Roddy.
Yeah, you have Roddy, you have Dylan Brooks. I mean, not... Yeah, so it's really tough without Brandon Clark.
Aldama, but...
But yeah, I mean, this is... it looks like it's a bit of an ugly one sometimes. Last game was pretty ugly offensively. Even the Lakers didn't have a good offensive outing over the course of the game. But you think Memphis has a shot to win 3 out of 4 here?
Yes, I think they can, but I just seeing the way Anthony Davis has been. It's unfair because Ja missed a game, but I mean he's been the best player in the series for me. And
yeah.
When he's playing like that, he's just so difficult to deal with.
He was really bad on offense in game 2,
mm-hmm.
but defensively, like if you have 5 blocks each game, like
he was bad on offense.
That's great.
But game 1 and game 3, he looked again like a top 10 player in the NBA in my opinion.
I agree.
So it's gonna be tough it's gonna be tough. I do think the Clippers have the team that can win it, but and also I mean, do you think Rui's gonna sustain this throughout the series? Or do you think if he doesn't, someone else is going to pick that up?
I think if someone else doesn't, someone else can pick that up. It's tough because even Rui's jump shooting, he's shooting awesome from 3.
Yeah.
And that floor spacing really helps. Obviously, Anthony Davis and LeBron cook inside. But maybe if Rui's not playing well, D'Angelo Russell will at least hit shots.
Right.
He's obviously not going to provide the same length on the other end. But God, Rui's been so impressive. Maybe the most impressive player of the playoffs so far. Just in general. Yeah, I think it's possible. So.
It's possible, yeah. You mean versus expectations?
Yeah, versus expectations. I didn't expect this level from Kyle Lowry either.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's we've seen him play well.
Alex Len, I didn't even think he would be in the rotation.
True.
He's been really... I mean, I guess he's only playing 10 minutes.
That's a good call. God, Ja Morant had a 62% assist percentage in that game. That's probably partly because no one else was able to hit shots, but that's crazy.
Yeah.
On
13 assists, that is crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. I just think they need to do a better job of moving the ball around and touching the paint, using Ja as don't just play like a Trae Young, Luka Doncic offense necessarily, right? Yeah. Get the ball moving, make multiple passes, touch the paint multiple times, get really good looks for your best shooters, and you have a chance to win this thing. But I'm gonna pick the Lakers to close this one out, either in 6 or 7.
All right, let's move on to another Western Conference series. The Phoenix Suns took a 3-1 lead against the Los Angeles Clippers. After playing games 1 and 2, Kawhi has missed games 3 and 4. Really unfortunate because, I mean, every game in this series has been really exciting. Devin Booker is just phenomenal. I do think the Suns, there's no Paul George, there's no Kawhi. That doesn't always mean, if a team is hitting shots, they're hitting shots. It doesn't really matter who's hitting them, right? Like, if you take away someone's name and they're like 6 for 8 from 3, it doesn't matter who the name is. If anyone's shooting like that, they're going to
still have to create those looks.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And I get my next point is the Clippers aren't necessarily just like making up for everything Kawhi and Paul George do on offense by threes made. I do think the Suns have some issues, and I think they can figure it out. Their team is that good. Torrey Craig has been absolutely incredible, and they're barely winning these games against the Clippers. So I do think they have some stuff to figure out, particularly how do they get Kevin Durant involved more in the action. I mean, this is the lowest usage rate of his career, basically, in his prime in the last few years. Like, how do you get him involved? There's too many times where I see him just standing on the wings. Chris Paul has the ball, and Devin Booker's getting a screen off ball, and KD's just standing there. I mean, you have two guys who have so much gravity. Utilize them both. I don't really get it.
Yeah, we were talking about this off air just while we've been watching a lot of these games together. It seems like Devin Booker and Kevin Durant are a lot of times focused on, let's get Zubac into the action. Let's get Bones Highland into the action.
Yeah.
But sometimes you got to get your other all-time player into the action as well.
Exactly. So. And there was this one possession in game 3, I think, where KD was wide open in the corner. He was calling for the ball, didn't get it for 10 seconds, and by the time he got the ball, he was so frustrated he stepped out of bounds, and like he was just visibly frustrated on that play. I don't know, man. I just feel like as good as Book has been, get Kevin Durant involved. Like Chris Paul, I know he's a phenomenal all-time point guard. He does not have to have the ball more in his hands more than Kevin Durant at this point in his career. Do you agree with that?
I think
he gets them into their offense.
No, yeah. I mean, I think Chris Paul is like I thought he was brilliant in this last game they played. I mean, in the fourth quarter, he was good. Passing the ball. Yeah, he was. Come on, he closed out that game for them.
I mean, he had some crazy shots. He had some great passes. Yeah, but I do think like.
I mean, I agree. Well, Kevin Durant, to be fair, I think you're talking more generally about the series because in this game. He did score 31 points on 17 shots.
Sure.
So, like, that's... I mean...
But even then, like, I feel like... I don't know. I want to see more Book KD screen and rolls.
Yeah.
Because Book has... I think he's really expanded his game as a passer these last couple of seasons since they were in the finals. I mean, he is hitting some insane passes in this series. And he looks great running the offense. So I think, I think you can... scale back Chris Paul a little bit, which they have been like throughout this season and whatnot, but and have Devin Booker with the ball in his hands more as a facilitator as well as a scorer. I mean, he's been great. So I don't know. I think they just need to get KD more involved.
Yeah, no. I mean, I agree because if you run that 2-man game, you're gonna have to force the defense into making some really tough decisions.
Yeah, or run flare screens for each of them off ball.
And you can put DeAndre Ayton in the dunker spot in that scenario. He'll be useful enough there, I think, getting offensive rebounds or just as a lob threat.
I just don't understand if they're running a screen for Book off ball. Why can't they run a mirrored screen on the other end?
Yeah, like, sometimes it's hard to get the.
I'm not saying do it every play.
Yeah, I know.
Do it once.
Yeah, because we've seen Monty Williams create really creative offenses.
Yeah.
With worse players.
Absolutely.
So, feels like you could do, fit in one of the most malleable players ever. But at the same time, they are 10-1 with Kevin Durant. Or 11-1 maybe now. And...
They've played like nobody in those games.
Yeah. Still, I mean, you gotta win.
No, you do. Look, the Suns are my pick to get out of the West.
And here's what Kevin Durant's... Sorry, go ahead.
They're my pick to get out of the West. I mean, I just think it's a little bit concerning. Like, that... I don't know. Against a team that's going to punish you more on the other end, I think it's not really... It's going to be tougher to just take the amount of possessions... I mean, they don't take the possessions off, but, like, against a better defensive team, it's going to be much harder to create some of the looks. Not that you necessarily, I mean, Book and KD are like maybe two of the best isolation scorers in the NBA. I mean, KD might be the best isolation scorer of all time.
Yeah.
Is that crazy to say?
No, I don't think so.
So, I mean, they're going to get their points. They're going to get their good looks, but it's just, I guess it just drives me crazy when I'm watching. Like, run more Spain pick and rolls.
Yeah. I mean, again, they've played very little games together, so maybe, I don't know. I mean, I feel like they are kind of gradually maybe looking a little bit better.
No, okay, yes, they are.
Yeah.
They are. But, yeah, I mean, I'm sure it is something that's they can fix.
And I still think it's even with all this fit stuff, they've been a much better team once Kevin Durant joins the Phoenix. And I mean, that's obviously a very low bar, but he's gotten them to the free throw line. Defensively, he's helping them rebound on both ends. Defensively, he's playing awesome.
He's been great defensively.
Yeah, even in this series, I feel like maybe a little bit worse than it seemed like he was playing in the regular season. But obviously,
it's a hard team for him, I think.
Yeah, he doesn't have like a natural place to guard necessarily on a lot of possessions. Like they should put him on maybe Russell Westbrook more, but Russell Westbrook's been making the Phoenix pay with his mid-range jump shots and his 3-point shooting. I mean, Russ has been been awesome in this series.
That might be the biggest, outside of the injuries, the biggest story of the series, how good Russ has looked. I mean, he had like 37 in Game 4. He's been phenomenal. He made some real, in Game 1, the game that they won, he made a huge offensive rebound, a huge assist, made some really clutch free throws. He's been really good, and he's looked good in this offense.
The block off, and then the
block on Devin Booker, and then hitting it off of him. He's been really good. Ty Lue's done some interesting stuff, like they've done 5-guard lineups essentially. And I think it's an interesting prospect, but I mean, it feels like, and I don't have the numbers in front of me right now, but it feels like Phoenix is out rebounding them. Even with like Zubats and Plumlee on the floor, like it seems like Phoenix are getting a lot of second chance points. And frankly, I'm rooting for the Clippers in this series because, I kind of want Phoenix eliminated just as a Bucks fan who wants to win the championship.
Yeah.
And it's just like every time Phoenix comes down the floor, I'm like, how are they going to stop them? Or like anytime the Clippers don't score, I'm like, oh man, Phoenix is just going to come down and score because they have Book and KD. And it's just like when they get their offensive rebounds, it's so deflating for me watching them.
But Tyler, I think he's had to push some of those buttons to give themselves a chance.
No, absolutely.
I mean, this is amazing that the series has been
as
close as it is. Terrence Mann's been great. Bones Highland's been surviving more defensively than I thought he would. Terrence Mann, just super important energy guy on both ends.
It's just a shame, man.
Norman Powell went for, in game 3, 40, right?
Yeah.
He was crazy in that game. Didn't do anything last game, efficiency-wise. But,
I mean, it's just tough. Like, you're missing Kawhi, you're missing... Like, those small lineups make so much more sense with Kawhi in there. Like, defensively.
Because I think it's like... I think Ty Lue's, like, I don't know. It's easy for us to say, and I think we kind of casually say this stuff like, oh, Covington and Batum aren't playing that much. But they just aren't as good players.
They're not.
As some of their smaller players, and they're probably going to provide less spacing in reality than they are in theory.
Right.
So, Covington and Batum only played 14 minutes together.
Well, Bones can put the ball on the ground and score, and take it to the basket and create some looks if he's willing to pass it. Norm Powell is another player who can put the ball on the floor and get his own shots. Like, Covington and Batum cannot do that. They're spot-up shooters. And, like, when Covington's tried to do that in his limited minutes, it's not gone well. So, I don't know if you were pulling up the rebounding numbers, but...
the rebounding numbers with Zubac on the court? That'll be kind of...
In the series.
Okay.
I know that'll be hard to find, but...
Yeah, okay. So, LA Clippers have gotten 24.6% of their offensive rebounds, and Phoenix have gotten 27.3% of their offensive rebounds. So,
yeah, I guess it just feels like Phoenix, when you give them a second chance, they're going to punish you.
They can just go back up.
Yeah.
There's not that many players for the Clippers that can just go back up with it, with the small lineups that they're playing. But I think this has been it's been a fun series. Phenomenal effort by the Clippers. Overall, really well coached and really unfortunate. We just didn't get to see Kawhi Leonard and Paul George play, but I guess we wouldn't have probably seen this level of efficiency from Russell Westbrook and him being able to take over the game, which has been a little bit fun to watch after, basically he was a buyout guy. He was a buyout guy who came to the Clippers. Obviously, he was a big part of the issues with the Lakers, so it's been cool to see that.
Yeah, Phoenix has gotten to the line a lot this series too. I mean, that's where they've been able to punish them. They're shooting 6 more free throws per game than the Clippers. There was one game where they had 46 free throw attempts. So.
Yeah. Clippers are turning over the ball more to Phoenix. Phoenix has a 121 offensive rating in this series, which is better than the best offense in the league during the regular season. So it's like, even when it's not looking pretty, really, they're still scoring a lot of points. But there are going to be probably better defenses, better players to match up with a Kevin Durant. They've just been kind of by committee. Okay, Eric Gordon, you get Kevin Durant 1 possession. Okay, Russell Westbrook, you get Kevin Durant. It's been kind of just like, and I think everyone's tried really hard, but you don't have like a natural person to guard him. And there really is no natural person to guard him, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much they're tested going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect Torrey Craig to continue shooting like this. Maybe he will. It just, outside of that starting 5, and credit to Monty for starting Torrey Craig over Josh Okogie. That was a big call. That's not something we've seen. So going into the playoffs, it's paid off for them. But like Josh Okogie, Bismack Biyombo, just the guys coming off the bench, like they don't have campaign, which actually I think is a pretty big deal.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, their bench units. They don't really have a bench unit, but the bench
they're playing
players,
as 40+ minutes a game.
Yeah. That's why I said they don't really have a bench unit, but the bench players just don't really.
So it's terrible to talk about, but you're at a higher risk for injury if you're playing these old guys 40 plus minutes in these high leverage playoff games.
Yeah, you have guys with injury history in Chris Paul and Kevin Durant. And I think people put Devin Booker in that category. I don't really agree with that, but he was injured this season.
No, so. I don't think. Yeah, not really. Let me read these Devin Booker stats per game. 24.8 points per game, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals. I'm rounding up on steals. 2.8 steals, 1.3 blocks, 67% true shooting. So 44% from 3. The ridiculous series. He has had he's grown more and more every season. And it's fun to watch this team play because Devin Booker and Kevin Durant are your premier bucket getters, but in the best way possible. They make mid-range shots super efficient, and they can get their own, but they also know how to move the ball and just keep playing. And the Suns shot basically half of their shots last game from mid-range, and they won because they're that good at that. Do you think, in terms of shot profile, that in future series they're going to need to get more threes?
Yeah, they're shooting 23 threes per game. 10 less.
That's like nothing in today's era.
That's 10 less than the Clippers. Yeah. And I think they can do that by being more creative on offense and creating some good 3-point looks. So,
and I mean, Damian Lee, maybe he's one of the shooters who actually can shoot.
Yeah.
Off the bench.
And he shot well in game 4.
He's shooting 50% for the series. Yeah. He's been
so he's one of them. TJ Warren hasn't played at all, really. He's another guy who could shoot theoretically.
That's interesting. Remember the trade deadline, I thought he might be kind of the 5th guy, but yeah. I just don't think Monty's been trusting enough defensively or really offensively. So, yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate because Kawhi, Kawhi Leonard in game 1 and 2, that was just like peak level Kawhi.
He was awesome. He
was doing everything. He was guarding Kevin Durant for basically the whole game, and Kevin Durant was guarding him for a lot of the game, and he was still so good.
Yeah, I mean, they had Kawhi on Ayton, interestingly enough, too, at the beginning of the game.
Yep, for game 1, yeah.
For game 1, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I remember I said in the preview, I just don't think Kawhi is that guy anymore defensively. I mean, he was. But
he definitely was, but he's hurt. So
I mean, we see why. Like I don't even. It's so unfortunate.
He did look like peak Kawhi defensively.
He did.
He looked like he won a Defensive Player of the Year, right? I think he won one.
I think so. Yeah.
He looked like that level of player. It's just unfortunate because that was such a fun matchup to watch, and I think Phoenix very well could have won the series. Maybe would have won the series, but it ended up being still fun to watch, but in a different way.
Yeah.
As this one looks to be over, I think. It's
3-1. They don't have the 2 best players.
Phoenix has home court.
Wow, Jason Tatum just hit like a 40-foot shot to go up by 12 in the 4th quarter. So
Jesus Christ. Yeah, we are recording during that series, so we won't be talking much about that series.
Trey just answered with his own logo shot. Play by play on a podcast. That's always something you want to hear. All right, let's move on to the last series we're really going to talk about, just because it's over. Philadelphia beat the Nets in 4 games. Some close games there. Joel Embiid did get hurt, and we don't really know what's going on with that. Doc did not seem too optimistic about him coming back.
He said 50% at best for the chance of him returning for Game 1 of the next series.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be a really tough matchup.
And I mean, it looks like Boston's about to go up 3-1. So, yeah, I mean, what's your? I guess give us one takeaway from the series since this was one of your series. It was not close really. Philadelphia is just a much better team. Game 4 was nice for Philadelphia, winning without Joel Embiid. Like Tobias Harris had a good game, but what was your takeaway from the series?
Yeah, Tobias Harris had a really good game. I think he had a really good series, just kind of like maneuvering his way throughout the series, kind of being a chameleon, doing what he needed to in certain spots. He also got the initial Mikal Bridges matchup. He saw a lot of him and did, an okay job. Mikal Bridges kind of flatlined towards the end of the series because I think, it was a lot for him. I've heard of some people say he's not a number 1 option on a great team. I don't know that yet, but he certainly is going to need some time to adjust to it because he's just shown so much more in his offensive repertoire than I thought he had. So I'm waiting on that. But he definitely didn't have it towards the end of this series. Embiid, they basically doubled Embiid for those 3 games on the catch.
That's what I took. Yeah. I mean,
and Embiid, to varying degrees, I think for the most part did a good job just getting rid of the ball. It's not easy to do that. He's used to scoring all the time, but he just had to get rid of the ball. And then they have enough shooting and offense where they were able to take advantage, and Tyrese Maxey's able to attack closeouts. He was huge in Game 3, right? At Brooklyn. Yeah. He hit some huge shots in the 4th quarter to retake the lead as well.
Yeah, no, he was great. Yeah, that was interesting to me. Like, we talked about, are they going to double Embiid? They did. And, I mean, I think Boston might do something similar, so, when he plays. So, or if he plays, I guess. So, I mean, like I said, I think it was a good practice for them. But I mean, it's going to be impossible for Philadelphia to go any further without Embiid. So
absolutely, I think as much as offensive talent as they have everything runs through him. Like James Harden, asking him to be a number 1 or number 2, he's just not
at this point.
He doesn't have that explosion anymore. Still an all-world passer, but he's gonna leave you hanging if you're expecting high efficiency, high volume scoring every night. I love seeing Paul Reed, who's a player I've just always liked. He played really well in Game 4. They can switch everything with him. He's a good switch defender. He even played well against Mikal Bridges in a couple of switches. So that was fun to watch. Yeah, and I mean, it's a good sign, though, that where you have Nick Claxton, who's a small but like an all-defense caliber center, and Brooklyn still panics from the get-go, and they double Embiid every time he catches the ball, and you're able to generate offense from just him touching the ball. That shows you how far Embiid's come as an offensive player, as a well-rounded offensive player. Like, he didn't even get to take those free throw line jumpers, really. Like, those just weren't there for him. Mm-hmm. But it'll be interesting to see. I mean, PJ Tucker, we'll see. I think he might be exposed a little bit offensively in some future series because he's very, in some games, he just would stop shooting. Yeah, I mean, I love the way Tobias Harris took advantage of mismatches in the post. He was an unsung or maybe sung hero of the playoffs. But I think, yeah, Brooklyn, good effort. I like that they have other teams' picks and not their own because we can see them build on this. Yep,
absolutely. 2 series we did not talk about today. Boston, Atlanta. Boston's about to go up 3-1, like I said, on Atlanta. And also, we also did not talk about Denver versus Minnesota. Denver is up 3-0 at the time of recording with a game tonight. So next time we record, we'll talk about those series for sure.
Yep, I'll have some stuff on Denver's offense next time.
I mean, they've been great.
They've been awesome to watch.
They've been great, but,
I don't know how people don't find that offense fun to watch. That is just ridiculous.
Yep.
They're ridiculous.
And you know what? Going forward, we have one less series to talk about until the next round starts. So, we're planning on recording in a couple of days. So, this week we're just Sahil had finals, so we couldn't record during the week, but that should change throughout the playoffs going forward. With that, you can let us know what you think about the playoff matchups, what's been exciting you about the playoffs. You can tweet us at Clear Out Podcast on Twitter. You can also email us, clearoutpodcast@gmail.com. Make sure you like, rate, and review wherever you're listening to the podcast. That really helps us out. But with that, we'll see you guys next time on the next episode of Clear Out.